by Will Parks.
Grimble here on the edge of the line. He's going to make it look like everyone's going over here to run. And Grimble's going to block, and then
rolling on the field.
Watch what he does at the end of this.
Inbound, fumble the ball in and out of the end zone.
That's the Austin Safarian Jenkins play of a year ago.
Touchdown at the 20-yard line.
He fumbles it.
Oh, it does. It comes out, doesn't it? They've been outstanding.
Most of that was in the first half. Two went out again with an elbow. Here's 3rd and 10. Sidestepping the pressure. Keenum gets rid of it. Nice play by Keenum. Signed by the Broncos in the offseason as a free agent. First down. He completes it. Stiff arm. He was not interfering. Nonetheless, it's 2nd and 13. Now going deep. Going deep. And unable to stretch out.
That stuff. I only like guessing at him coming back.
2nd and 4. And a catch off the ground.
And now Brown's inside, where Harris can't guard him.
2nd and 4. Over to Brown. First down.
For time, he's going to know something's up.
3rd and 11. Brown needs to pick up 5 more, and he's going to be about a yard from 41. Barry on the hold. And the kick by Boswell is good. By the way, it's the 3rd straight week the Broncos have gone against the Watt brothers. Look at Lindsey go! Woo! He got 15, and he's 2nd. They got 15,000.
Steal. The whole week is wrong.
3rd and 5.
I love his one-cut explosiveness. He's got it.
Here's a first down. Look. Jena connects. That's
all right, give him the ball.
Going up top. Wide open. Touchdown, Broncos. Lacoste.
Just outside of 2 plays that cost him points.
Here's a 2nd and 4. And he connects this time.
And that's the game so far. Comes down to just the ball.
2nd and 5. Stepping up and connecting again. McDonald takes the hit. Okay, I'm buying that.
Good question. I'm going to have to look that up.
2nd and 8.
It's probably 8.
Look at that pass.
The other guys, but there's too many guys who are open consistently.
2nd and 10. Switzer with the catch at the 10. Bounces around, holds on.
You're trying to get the ball back.
2nd and
All right, hey guys, want to thank everybody for tuning in for this breaking news here. Terrible thing happened today at practice for the Denver Broncos. Emmanuel Sanders tore his Achilles tendon, and it was a non-contact injury. That's just sort of, unfortunately, the way Achilles tendons work. I've seen a couple of Achilles tears in my career, and they all end exactly the same way. Immediate surgery. You are done with football for a year minimum. The rehab process is tough. It is doable. I've seen guys come back from Achilles injuries and play very well. Eric Berry came back from an Achilles, played well. Derek Johnson, a couple of Kansas City Chiefs I've covered in my career, came back from Achilles tears, but there is no way to sugarcoat this for the Denver Broncos. This is terrible news on both an immediate front and also a future front, given how big Emmanuel Sanders' contract is. We're going to get into that. We're also going to hear from Vance Joseph, who spoke to the media a little while ago. Make sure you get your comments in on the Phantom page. We will read those here live on the air. Please share this to all the Denver Broncos groups, all of your Broncos friends around the league. If people want to get fantasy football updates, we'll talk about this for the next couple of minutes. I don't have a ton of time to discuss this, but obviously we wanted to get this news out here for you guys. Emmanuel Sanders is done for the year after tearing his Achilles tendon, and Gonzalez is here. He just says ugh with like 13 H's. Yes, I think everybody's kind of feeling the same way here. The injuries just continue to pile up here for the Denver Broncos. Really across the NFL, we've seen really bad injuries this year. Daniel coming in, can't catch a break. Chris says prayers to Sanders. Yeah, look. Sanders is over 30 now, and so I think that this could, for a lot of players, really, really damage their potential to come back at all. I think Sanders is one of those guys who probably will end up coming back from this injury. I don't think it will be in a Denver Broncos uniform. We'll talk about why that is here coming up in just a little bit. But first and foremost, Let's go ahead and hear from the coach here. I wanted to just really quickly let everybody listen to this. So this is from Darren McKee's Twitter account. This video, just wanted to give credit there before we played it. But here's head coach Vance Joseph just a couple of minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, updating the media on what exactly happened with Emmanuel Sanders' injury.
You guys went to his report. We had 4 guys DMP, Shaq Barrett with a hip, Tremaine Brock with ribs, Chris Harris with a lower leg injury, and Derek Wolf with ribs. We had 2 guys limited, Brandon Marshall with a knee, Emmanuel Sanders with a Achilles injury, and Josie Jewell was full along with Cortland Sutton's full. That's his question.
Coach, how extensive is that injury to Emmanuel?
We're not sure. He's having an MRI in the next hour, so we'll know more.
Was there?
It didn't look good.
Does it feel like a punch in the throat?
It does not.
Chris and now Emmanuel?
It does not. The next man up, we're going to move on. Absolutely.
Coach, why didn't it look good?
Just the way it went down.
Would you have to bring in somebody else to fill that spot?
We'll see. I mean, it just happened, about an hour ago. I'll get with John and Matt, and we'll have a plan for it.
Had there been anything leading up to this injury with Emmanuel? Any suspicions that he'd been dealing with something there?
No, I mean, he was sore last week in his heel area, and he felt great today, so I can't speak to that.
Do you have a replacement in mind?
It just happened an hour and 15 minutes ago. We have to go through the wire, and we got the sisters out there. We have capable guys here in the building already on our P squad, so we'll see what's best for our football team.
All right, so there you go. There is head coach Vance Joseph talking to the media earlier today about this. He says, look, it looked pretty bad. That's exactly what it is. It is bad. A lot of people have looked at Cortland Sutton and seen his progress over the last couple of weeks after they traded Demaryius Thomas to the Texans, and Sutton has looked really, really good. I don't think there's any question that Cortland Sutton is now the really of your options, the best option in terms of the passing game, but given that Jeff Hireman also got hurt, so now you're down to only Matt Lacoste, Cortland Sutton, Deshaun Hamilton, Tim Patrick. You start running out of names. What was at first a very deep position for the Denver Broncos, a wide receiver, has now just dwindled all the way down to a couple of options, many of whom are totally unproven. So this is not a great spot to be in if you're the Denver Broncos, but we definitely wanted to get this information out there. Please share this. Please share this with all your friends who are Denver Broncos fans. I wanted to also bring this up because this was also too very interesting here, the contract numbers for Emmanuel Sanders. So if you're curious about what this means for the future, because again, Achilles tears, we mentioned earlier, Achilles, you don't mess, they're worse than ACL. ACL, you can come back. Adrian Peterson came back from an ACL tear in 4 months. Achilles tendons, totally different beast, man. You are done for a year minimum with an Achilles tendon tear. So this is the current numbers right here for the cap restrictions and what it looks like for Emmanuel Sanders after this season. So if you take a look at the numbers here, the contract this year, he's owed $13 million in dead cap space, and then of course the cap hit is $10 million. But then next year, the cap hit will be $12 million, but only 2 of that is dead cap, which means it would not cost very much to release Emmanuel Sanders. Given this news and the fact that he probably is done not only for this season, but also at least part of next season, that means I'm guessing he will be released by the Denver Broncos either after this season or as soon as they can to create a roster spot. I don't know exactly what they would do when it comes to the rest of this, but this is bad news for Emmanuel Sanders, and I think everybody here hopes that he recovers very, very quickly. But also too, beyond this, it would not behoove the Broncos to retain him any longer. So, this is kind of forced upon them that they have to now move into the future and start looking at giving the ball to guys who are not necessarily maybe ready to do that. So, look, those are the contract numbers. I'm going to leave those up here for just a moment. Your thoughts, your comments, what do you have to say about this? Chris says one less weapon for Keenum. Yeah, one less weapon for Keenum, and I think a lot of people here were hopeful that the remainder of the season is very manageable for the Broncos. I don't know if this necessarily changes my outlook on the last 4 games of the year, because they've still got 2-9, or now 2-10, I think. 2-10 Oakland, 2-10 San Francisco. So a couple of really bad teams. You expect those to be wins even without Emmanuel Sanders. It does change a little bit your outlook on the Cleveland game. As much as we may say it's the Browns, Cleveland is not terrible this year. So especially on defense. So not having Emmanuel Sanders, who is the most sure-handed target on the Broncos roster, he's the consistency. Like, if you want to move the chains regularly in the passing game, Emmanuel Sanders is your go-to guy because he's got great hands. He's a really good possession receiver. He's got by far the most experience. And if you look at the knock on some of the younger players, Tim Patrick hasn't really seen that much action. Courtland Sutton, who everyone's really excited about. Now, I'm really excited about him too. He's basically a slower version of Calvin Johnson. He's a really good, formidable target downfield, which Keenum has started to use quite a bit after Demaryius Thomas got traded. The one knock on him right now is that he can't catch the ball consistently, which is why you need Emmanuel Sanders. So this is no question. This is a big blow for the Denver Broncos. Jordan Taylor, that's an option, obviously. Jordan Taylor, Tim Patrick, I expect them to take huge steps up. Matt LaCosse, I would expect to get more involved as the tight end. I mean, he's been pretty involved the last few weeks. Really, I'd say the bulk of the season to this point, he's been pretty involved. But I would also say that, seeing Hireman go down and then this happens both on the heels of a pretty big, substantial trade that you didn't get much in return from Demaryius Thomas. Like, this is not good timing. This is, at the very least, I think people were hoping that Emmanuel Sanders was going to be healthy to the end of the year, regardless of what you thought beyond 2018. I think most people saw him getting released after the season anyways, but this guarantees that he's going to be released after the season is over with. Let's take a look. Kyle's watching. What's up, Kyle? Rafael Melendez-Lopez says, wow, yeah, how's the backup? Look, I think that they had one of the deeper wide receiving cores in the NFL to begin the season, and you trade Demaryius Thomas, that obviously takes a hit, but not a bad one. Then you see the production from the tight end group grow, as the season progressed, and it was looking pretty good. I was excited to see Hireman take a step forward, and LaCosse seemed like a pleasant surprise, so that was good. So then Hireman goes down, so then you're limited now in the tight end section, and now you're stuck with your wide receiving core is Courtland Sutton, who's somewhat inconsistent catching the ball, and then Deshaun Hamilton, who hasn't done very much, Tim Patrick, who hasn't done very much. You've got Jordan Taylor, who hasn't done anything this season. I mean, your options are just dwindling as we speak. Now, this is going to emphasize, I think, the running game a lot more. Royce Freeman had a bit of an injury issue there in the middle of the season, but he's back. Obviously, Phillip Lindsay has had an enormous impact on the Broncos this season, so you feel good about the backfield. I guess maybe the solve here is Andy Janovich gets more involved. Maybe as you kind of shift him more to a hybrid H-back position where he plays a little bit more tight end stuff. But you have to get somebody out there who is consistently going to catch the ball. And unless they see Tim Patrick or somebody like Deshaun Hamilton really step up into that role and show that they Crabtree type, I don't know who else that they have left. I think the free agent market isn't looking great. I mean, there's always a wide receiver out there somewhere, but a lot of this has been about chemistry with Case Keenum and his targets, and Keenum really liked Emmanuel Sanders, and so now he doesn't have that guy, and that's going to be a big problem for the Broncos the remainder of the season. I think at the very least you have to drop this. Gerald offered how about putting in a couple routes for Lindsay? I think Gerald, that's a good option. He's still used primarily as a running back, not a pass-catching running back. This definitely means we're going to see more screens, maybe not the jet sweeps. No more jet sweeps. Emmanuel Sanders not going to be playing, so no more jet sweeps. Nick says Hamilton is going to be solid. So there's at least one vote there for Deshaun Hamilton. Kyle Katz says Hamilton, the best route runner, and now our rookies are going to show their worth these upcoming games. Look, their rookie class has been very good this season. And not just the wide receivers, but really everyone in their rookie class this season has been good. So, to seeing, this rookie class really show out. But obviously there's no way to slice this. This is a bad deal for the Denver Broncos. Okay, by the way, guys, please share this. We only had about 15 minutes or so to do this. Unfortunately, I have to get off here, but here's the breaking news. Emmanuel Sanders tears his Achilles. It means he's out for the remainder of the season. Will probably be out for at least part of next season as well, which in all likelihood means that the Denver Broncos will have to just release him as opposed to trying to trade him or something in the offseason potentially. So that basically this has made the choice for the Broncos when it comes to Emmanuel Sanders' future with the franchise. Very unfortunate for them moving forward for the remainder of the season. They had built up so much momentum. This doesn't necessarily mean that the momentum is done. I want to be clear about that. The schedule is so easy that I think you go from thinking at least 3-1 the remainder of the way to saying 2-2 is probably more likely at this point, because the Browns are not pushovers, and you can't take the game off. Like the Raiders almost beat the Chiefs last week, so I would say that that's not necessarily a gimme, even though they're terrible. You should win that game. The Niners are not a gimme, even though they're a terrible team as well, and you should win that. So 2-2 here. I think this does shift you more to the thinking of 2-2 than 3-1 or 4-0 than maybe it was previously. A couple more questions here before we get off of here. What do you think about Kelvin Benjamin? Kelvin Benjamin he's just so fat. He's just so fat. I don't know what else to do with him. He's like the Charles Barkley of the NFL. I don't know, only not that good. He's not as good as Charles Barkley. He got fat and now would you guys want Kelvin Benjamin? Nick, do you really want Kelvin Benjamin? I'm not on board with that. But why release your best wide receiver? Andrew asks, why release Emmanuel Sanders? Well, he's going to be done. Achilles injuries, and I want to be very clear about this. Achilles injuries are not good. Achilles injuries, you are out for a year. Every Achilles injury I've ever seen puts a guy out for a year. It's not like an ACL tear. ACL tears are bad, and I think that they can maybe cause more issues moving forward for a person. When you tear your Achilles and you get it fixed, it's fixed. But with an ACL, you got to trust your knee and things like that. But you can recover from an ACL injury in 4 to 6 months. I mean, it doesn't take nearly as long. The recovery time on an on an Achilles is a year. It is 12 months, and there's no wiggle room with that. You have to let the tendon heal. So there's and as you can see up here on the screen, it doesn't maybe look like you guys can really see it. Let me blow this up so you guys can see this a little bit more before we get off here, just to show you what exactly the contract details are here for Emmanuel Sanders. So these are the contract deets for Emmanuel Sanders, and as you can see here, in 2018, it would not behoove the Broncos to release him this year because he represents $13 million in dead cap, which is why he wasn't traded because nobody would take that contract. The next year on his contract, he's 32 in 2019, which he will miss part of. The cap hit is $12 million. To cut him, it would be 2.5 against the cap. So that right there, the base salary there is $10 million for Emmanuel Sanders in 2019, a year in which you will probably not see him play that much, even if he's good. So even if he comes back from the injury and plays well, he's not going to play most of the season. So I would say that the Broncos will probably end up releasing Emmanuel Sanders in the offseason. And I know that may not sit well with a lot of you, but that's just unfortunately the situation that we're in. Okay, that's going to do it for me. I have to get out of here, but please, by all means, let all your friends know. Please share this video. Pretty short here. I think about a 20-minute update here for you guys. But I want to thank everybody for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to the Phantom channel for all of your Broncos breaking news, regardless of what it is. Obviously, this is not good news, but we will have better news, hopefully, breaking news down the road. But certainly not good news today. Emmanuel Sanders tears his Achilles. He is out for the season. We'll do our best to keep you updated on if they sign somebody over the course of the remaining week. Just to round things up here with some comments here. Gabriela says, so now we are going to have to rely much more on the running game. Yep. Every play, Lindsey Freeman. That sounds about right. Gerald, is there any good free agent wide receiver out there that you know? No, I do. There are not. Andrew, well, this isn't good for the Broncos. Nope. I mean, we have now pretty much lost the whole offensive line, starters, yeah, except for, Garrett Holds. Other than him, he's still there. Want to thank everybody for watching, and we'll talk to you later in the week. Later, y'all.